সবাইকে শুভ সন্ধ্যা। আজকে আমাদের ল অ্যান্ড জাস্টিস প্রোগ্রামে টাইম টিভির পক্ষ থেকে আপনাদেরকে সাদর আমন্ত্রণ জানাচ্ছি। আমরা প্রতি সপ্তাহে এই অনুষ্ঠান করে থাকি। আমাদের মাঝে উপস্থিত আছেন আমাদের সবার এই পরিচিত এই কমিউনিটির এবং আমাদের বাংলাদেশিদের এই বন্ধু জনাব অ্যাটর্নি মারিজান. It's my great privilege and honor to welcome you on Time TV studio this evening on Law and Justice program. Mr. Attorney Marijan, thank you very much for coming. And
thank you for having me. Thank you for inviting me. The pleasure is all mine.
Thank you very much. Mr. Marijan, let's go for the intro and how long you are in this. You are very popular in our community, and everybody likes you too much, and you are supporting our community also. So in that respect, can you tell us something, how many clientele level you have in Bangladeshi community, and also your involvement for how many years?
Well, yes, certainly, and thank you for your nice comments. I mean, I'm really, and I'm telling this to all of my clients and all of my viewers and the entire Bengali community here in New York and throughout the United States. Now we even have clients coming from Pennsylvania, from New Jersey, from other states coming to us here in New York. Is that I'm really trying to do my best navigating very complex and very difficult American immigration laws and procedures at this point. We'll discuss it later on. All of these new updates and developments, I'm really trying to do best given that whole situation. Now, speaking of the clients, we do really have a lot, and we would really like to assist Bangladeshi community here in New York, not only in Queens and throughout the United States, with various applications, political asylums, employment-based green cards, work authorizations or work permits, family applications, and things like this. So there are really a lot of things that we can do for people, and a lot of people don't understand that they always have more than one option, be it a student visa or work visa or L visa or any other like a green card application or asylum if they are not really political asylum, if they are not really prepared to go back to Bangladesh due to the political difficulties, which they face. So really, there are a lot of options which people can actually have here and be very happy and get their working papers in the United States.
থ্যাংক ইউ। প্রিয় দর্শক, আপনারা শুনলেন অ্যাটর্নি মারিজান অনেক কিছুই বললেন, অনেকগুলো প্রেক্ষাপট আছে, বিভিন্ন ক্যাটাগরি ভিসা সম্বন্ধে উনি বললেন এবং অনেক সুযোগ আছে, ওনারা কাজ করছেন এই বিষয়ে। এবং আমরা যারা বাংলাদেশি অধ্যুষিত এলাকায় আছি, যারা বাংলাদেশিরা এই ওনার সাহায্য নিতে চাই, আমরা অবশ্যই ওনার সঙ্গে যোগাযোগ করতে পারবো এবং আমি আপনাদেরকে জানিয়ে দেবো এবং ওনার অ্যাটর্নির যে অ্যাড্রেসটা আছে ওইটা আমাদের স্ক্রিনে দেখানো হবে হয়তো বা। আর সবচেয়ে বড় কথা হচ্ছে যে সে আমাদের খুব ক্লোজ বন্ধু, আমরা সবসময় তাকে কাছে পাবো। আই থিঙ্ক ইউর অফিস ইজ লোকেটেড ইন সামওয়্যার ইন অ্যাস্টোরিয়া?
Yes, it's actually closer to Jackson Heights. Office address in Jackson Heights is 7316 Roosevelt Avenue. It's that building on the corner of a Broadway which comes from Astoria. That's why it looks like it's in Astoria, but it's really Jackson Heights. It's a corner of Broadway and Roosevelt. The building is exactly on the corner. You can't really miss it. And my picture is on the building, both on the entrance door and above the entrance door. So you can't really miss it as long as you see the building on the corner of a Broadway and Roosevelt. Is exactly where my office is, and it's on the 3rd floor. And the other thing which I'd like to tell you, speaking of the community, I do not charge any initial consultation fee, meaning my consultation fee, initial fees are basically zero. I do not charge consultation fee for people who just come to me to talk to me about their immigration problem, about the immigration situation. Only once we agree as to what we are going to do, how are we going to proceed, be it the L visa, E visa, green card, political asylum, then, of course, I give them a payment plan. They pay some money, like an advance payment down, and then I organize a payment plan.
Thank you.
But otherwise, I don't charge any consultation fee.
Thank you. Attorney Marijan, it's a huge concern for the community, and there was recently the Fifth Circuit, they have stopped the Obama execution order. This is really a huge blow up for the whole couple of millions, people. So about that, we really need elaborate explanation from you. প্রিয় দর্শক, আমরা প্রেসিডেন্ট ওবামার অধ্যাদেশের বিরুদ্ধে যে আইনটি পাশ হয়েছে কিছুদিন আগে, সেটার বিরুদ্ধে আমরা কথা বলতেছি অ্যাটর্নি মারিজান সাহেবের কাছে। Can you explain us elaborately what the situation right now, how people will go and what to act and all this? This is a really a serious matter for all they are waiting for a long time. Some of them I know it's for like 10 years, 15 years.
10 to 15 years, yes, or even longer. And it all failed last week. And unfortunately, it all basically disintegrated, failed, crumbled, like a house of cards. This is what actually happened. Well, while I believe that this is more or less permanent or long term, there is still a minimum chance because this is only regarding the so-called preliminary injunction. That would be like a preliminary prohibition against President Obama's executive action. The real hearing on the merits, will happen sometime in, I think it's July of this year. So it's about like in a month there's going to be a hearing. My problem which I have here is we have two aspects of the problem, the legal aspect and the political aspect. From the legal point of view, I have to tell you, most of the legal scholars and academics actually think that as much as it's very desirable, President Obama's executive action is actually illegal and unlawful and unconstitutional. As much as we would like it to happen politically, maybe, from the legal point of view, there was a different legal procedure we should have used. And this is exactly what the court said. Court didn't say no. Court just said no, well, you cannot do it this particular way. Court is not saying you cannot legalize 5 or 10 million people in the country. That's not what the court said. Court just said this is not the way to do that. The political aspect of it is that it comes from the legal aspect, is that basically in the American system of government, there are 3 branches of government. Legislative, which is Congress. Executive, which is headed by the President of the United States, in this case President Obama. And judiciary, which is here to interpret the law, usually represented by federal court or Supreme Court. In this particular case, the legalization of such a large number of people should have occurred through the legislative action, meaning through
which
the
is
act
Congress.
of Congress. Exactly. Not through President Obama's executive action. Now, President took that action because previous presidents took similar or even same executive actions. And it is really gray area of law or gray area of practice whether this is unlawful or unconstitutional. There are good arguments on both sides. And the president did it because Congress didn't really want to move. So he felt like necessary, having so many people in the country legally, not paying Social Security, not paying taxes, driving without driving licenses, and being pushed into the underground economy, all of these political, economic, and national security reasons as well. Basically, president decided to go on his own, to go alone, which he promised, telling, basically the whole country, well, if Congress doesn't want to act, I will try to do it on my own. The problem is in the American system of government, from the legal point of view, most probably president overstepped his authority. And in one particular aspect, which most immigrants really like, where he has a particular problem, is not with the deferred action against the deportation for these 5 million people, but the fact that that deferred action for the 2 or 3 years actually carries with the deferred action a work permit, a work authorization. So this is where he completely overstepped his action, because Congress never really gave to these people a work authorization, never ever intended that these people can legally go on and work, while the president gave them that action without Congress. So this is where he went completely too far in this really project or in this executive action. But on the other hand, we are going to have a hearing on the merits once again in July. I believe that the Federal Appeals Court will deny it once again, and I believe that President Obama's administration will appeal it once again to the Supreme Court. So there will be more, in our monthly basically programs, you're going to talk about it. Although I'm not really very optimistic about it. What should have been done is a big compromise, the so-called grand compromise between the Democrats and the Republicans on something that's called a comprehensive immigration reform, or if you want to call it on real amnesty. This is what we should have done, and see really both sides to compromise and to come to the, some sort of a agreement as to how to do that. This is what politically should have been done, and then it would have been completely legal. We wouldn't have these basically court procedures and court fights over preliminary injunctions or merit hearings or not merit hearings and pre-trial hearings and everything that's happening while the people are waiting for something to happen which may never happen. So we wouldn't be in that situation in which we are now if we went actually politically into that and tried to reach some sort of a compromise.
সো প্রিয় দর্শক আপনারা শুনলেন আসলে এখানে তিনটা ভাগ লেজিসলেটিভ যেটা কংগ্রেস আমরা বলি এবং প্রেসিডেন্ট এক্সিকিউটিভ বোর্ড সব মিলিয়ে কম্প্রিহেন্সিভ এটা হওয়া উচিত ছিল যেটা ওনার আমরা কথা থেকে বেরিয়ে আসছে। তা এখন আমরা অপেক্ষা করব, আরও হিয়ারিং হবে, আরও অ্যাপিল হবে, হয়তো বা প্রেসিডেন্ট ওবামা এই সম্বন্ধে উনি সুপ্রিম কোর্ট পর্যন্ত যেতে পারেন, উনি অথবা জুলাইতে একটা অ্যাজ ইউ সোল্ড জুলাই দেয়ার বি অ্যানাদার হিয়ারিং রাইট। সো আমরা জুলাইতেও
Yes.
একটা হিয়ারিং আছে, সেখান থেকে জানতে পারবো, বাট উই ক্যানট গিভ আপ দ্য হোল হোপ ইয়েট রাইট।
You should never give up the whole hope, and I will tell you why. First, there is always a possibility that this program will somehow go through. But there is one thing even more important than that. And this is what I've been telling to everyone in the Bangladeshi community, particularly in Bangladeshi community. All of the people from Bangladesh are now aware as to what is going on in their country or their former country, one way or another if you want. We all know, and I don't want to go into the politics now of Bangladesh, and I don't want to go into details, but we all know what is going on between the BNP and the Awami League and Jamaat Islamiyah and all of these developments in the last couple of weeks, from the house arrest of the former Prime Minister Khaleda Zia to the murder charges being filed against the current Prime Minister Ms. Hasina. So given that overall political, economic and national security situation in Bangladesh, it is possible for people who have been here in the United States for 5 years, 10 years, 15 years now to get legalized on a one-on-one basis through certain political asylum procedures, even if they were ordered deported with a so-called motion to reopen filed with either immigration court or Board of Immigration Appeals, based on the situation in Bangladesh and based on the fact that they are unable or unwilling to go back into that situation that's now developing over there. So what I'm telling everyone in the Bangladeshi community, while I'm terribly sorry, of course, that all of these things are going on a daily basis in Bangladesh that we read now on Google, in the news, on CNN and other places. However, that really leaves the door open for a legalization, but on one-on-one basis, meaning not all the Bangladeshis in Queens, not all Bangladeshis in New York, not all Bangladeshis in the United States, but on one-on-one basis to submit applications to Immigration Service first, to remove and reopen any previous deportations, and a second, if they have none, after 3, 5, 7 years being illegally present in the United States, to file political asylum application affirmatively, and within about 6 months, get a work authorization, get social security number, get driving license, establish themselves in the United States fully while awaiting political asylum hearing or any other immigration court proceedings. So that's why I was saying about the hope. No, it's far from that. I mean, we're only talking about President Obama's program, and I don't blame the president entirely. I do blame him partially, because I believe he should have tried to negotiate with the Republicans and insist a little bit more on that.
I mean, with the amicably.
Exactly. And also insist a little bit more. I mean, a couple of years passed by that nothing really happened during his presidency regarding immigration reform.
Thank you very much.
And also when you negotiate with somebody, and you know that from any lease or rental contract or any contract, you have to give in a little bit. You have to give in something.
Right.
You cannot come to mortgage broker or a landlord and tell them, this is what I want, or really nothing else. Well, it's probably not going to work, particularly not in New York.
প্রিয় দর্শক, আপনারা শুনতে বললাম একটু আগেই যা বলতেছিলাম যে যারা এখানে আছেন মানে আনডকুমেন্টেড, তাদের জন্য একটা সুবর্ণ সুযোগ আছে। যারা পলিটিক্যাল অ্যাসাইলেম মারতে যাচ্ছেন বা পলিটিক্যাল কেস ফাইল করতে যাচ্ছেন, তাদের জন্য একটা সুযোগ থাকতে পারে। বাংলাদেশের এখন যে অবস্থা, সেই পরিপ্রেক্ষিতে সে সাজেস্ট করতেছে যে আপনারা পলিটিক্যাল অ্যাসাইলেমের জন্য হয়তো এটা দ্রুত হতে পারে যদি ওবামার ওই এক্সিকিউশন অর্ডারের জন্য আপনারা অপেক্ষা করতে না চান। প্রিয় দর্শক, আমরা একটা ছোট্ট বিরতিতে যাচ্ছি, আবার আমরা ফিরে আসছি। ধন্যবাদ। আমরা ফিরে আসলাম। Again, welcome Mr. Marijan. We are back in this program after this short break, actually commercial break. Now, regarding the we had reported a case in weekly Bangla Patrika recently on the last volume that there are a lot of people in El Paso, California. They have stranded over there. They filed a case, and there was hearing, but still they are over there. It's not being processed yet. Very slow down. There are a lot of people over there, like including them, the Bangladeshi nationals and other nationals too. So it's like standard situation over there. How we can? Is there any way we can say something or deliver any message for them how to get rid of the situation?
Do you mean the L visa?
No, there are some standard California. They come illegally entered in this country.
The illegal entrance. I understood. I understood because we have a similar situation with the L visa. Well, the situation is as follows. Under the political pressure from mainly Republicans, but also some Democrats as well, Department of Homeland Security has basically implemented, and Department of Justice as well, some new procedures in which it is considerably more difficult to get a bond in order to bail somebody out from the immigration detention. So this is not a criminal detention, not that anyone has done any particular crime. We're talking about just being caught illegal or illegal border crossing, basically, immigration type violation or a crime, but not a real crime. And then basically, they have instituted procedures making it either very difficult or very costly to receive these various bonds. I have recently seen immigration bonds in California as high as $20,000, which is almost incredible. In New York, if you commit a serious crime, you would usually be able to be bailed out on a $20,000 bond. But we speak about the crime and criminals. We don't speak about people who are fleeing political persecution or refugees or basically just immigrants trying to enter the United States. So, and it's of course extremely difficult even for their sponsors and members of the family and friends, even if they have them in the United States, to post $20,000 bond because they need to do that in cash, which is not an easy thing to do for anyone, be it Bangladeshi or be it American, from that point of view. The other thing that's now going on, and I need to warn the viewers, and it's a matter of a political persuasion or a political opinion, is that recently we've seen, particularly in California, the U.S. Immigration Service, or the lawyers for the U.S. Immigration Service, the so-called Office of Chief Counsel, but these are really lawyers working for the Immigration Service, they charged a couple of Bangladeshi immigrants with admitted membership in the BNP, which is the leading opposition party and was previously the governing party in Bangladesh. They charged them with the terrorism or supporting terrorism just because they admitted being members of the BNP. Now, how did they arrive to the fact that the membership in the BNP has to do anything with the terrorism, except if you are promoting the Awami League position, is unknown to me. And why is the U.S. government taking Awami League position, in this whole fight in between the Awami League and the BNP? It's really unknown to me. However, that happened. So these situations really have to be handled by very, very qualified counsel. And what I try to do normally in situations like this, I try to go with a bond or a bail hearing before ever going into the individual political asylum hearing. Because it's very difficult to get them approved in California.
Mr. Marijan, the cases here in California, they have already paid the bond. But still they are being,
they're being held.
They're being held. Yeah.
Well, we have to look on each and every individual case, what really happens. I would have to see if they approve the bond, if the immigration judge approved the bond, why the person wasn't released. However, as I'm mentioning to you, if there are any national security reasons, if there are any reasons related to terrorism or aiding and abetting terrorism or helping terrorist activity or something like this, then even immigration bond would not help. Even that would not help. So now, this is what's really going on. The way how, as I was mentioning, I handle these situations that I try not to go into the individual hearing. I try to postpone them for as long as it's really possible in order to have them here in New York and not over there in California, and try to free that person and then file motion to change venue to transfer the case in New York. That's what it is. Now, if you have somebody whose bond was approved and person is still in custody, obviously after a couple of phone calls, faxes, or letters, there will be no other choice but to go back to the court and ask for the court order for this person to be released.
Thank you.
And then if somebody opposes, we'll have to tell you why they're opposing. Meaning why the Immigration Service is saying, even after bond, why they're saying no. They will have to come up with an argument why they are not releasing that person.
প্রিয় দর্শক, আমরা অনেক তথ্য পেলাম অ্যাটর্নি ম্যারিজানের কাছ থেকে। আমরা একটা ইস্যু নিয়ে আলাপ করছিলাম, ক্যালিফোর্নিয়া বেসড, যারা স্ট্যান্ডার্ড সিচুয়েশন ছিল, বন্ড দেওয়ার পরও রিলিজ পাচ্ছিল না। তো ওইটা নিয়ে আমরা করছিলাম। উনি অনেকগুলো সাজেশন দিয়েছেন কীভাবে পরবর্তী পদক্ষেপ কীভাবে নিতে হবে। I'm coming to the next question about this one, the family-based immigration and also the sponsor-based immigration status. How faster we can process that? I know if someone is applying for F4 category, it takes long
Correct.
time.
Correct.
So especially I'll emphasize you to tell about the sponsor-based. Like I am an employee here, I sponsor to Time Television, whatever it is, and how long it's going to process for these negotiations and everything.
Application, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, excellent. Let me tell you, excellent question, and it's excellent timing for this question. I wanted to maybe devote a special program just for that particular issue, and here I have another warning for our viewers. In the case of all of the immigration categories, all, be it family or employment-based, even for political asylum, there are certain quotas, which means some limitation, some sort of a limit to the number that the United States will process or admit in every year. In each of these categories, in the family and the others, the only basically areas where the quota doesn't exist are very, very close, the so-called immediate relatives. This is usually a mother, father, basically son and daughter, minor son and daughter, and a husband and wife. So all other categories have certain limitations. Now, the worst of them being, actually there are two groups which are really very bad. One is a sponsorship of a brother and sister. Currently, the waiting time for sponsoring brothers and sisters is 14 to 15 years of waiting. And the other one is when a U.S. citizen, father or mother, sponsors adult, meaning over 21, married son or daughter who is overseas. It's about 8 to 10 years of waiting. It is extremely long period of time. Many things even happen in the meantime. There is possibility sometimes with the 15 years that a sponsor would not even be alive, after so many years.
That's
and it does happen. I see these cases, unfortunately, on a monthly basis. When somebody comes and then something happens with the sponsor. Sometimes just a traffic accident can happen, not necessarily the aging process. Although after 15 years, even
Now,
aging process would be.
here I have a good question. It came in my mind. Suppose a person who applied as a principal applicant, right?
Yes.
And before being processed all the whole procedures, the principal applicant, let's say, passed away. And that situation, what would be the next step? I mean, his spouse can hold that status?
No,
or
unfortunately not.
Or once the principal applicant is passed away, the whole file will be cancelled or something like that?
Exactly. Unfortunately, the application cannot proceed. The only, which we recently changed, there was a recent change in the law, which basically only allowed in the case of a death of a sponsor, when the sponsor dies, that they can complete the process within 2 years. They can do that. However, unfortunately, if the principal applicant dies, the rest of the family no longer can immigrate or use that particular category, unless they've already arrived to the United States. So basically, unfortunately not. But what I want to say is that in the situations which you have, where really so many people are waiting so long, we need to search for alternative legal strategies. And one of the alternative legal strategy is to try for these people to find them a job and a job offer in the United States. Because in employment law, in employment green card sponsorship, that quota is extremely beneficial and positive to Bangladesh and many other countries right now. The so-called EB3 quota for Bangladesh is only a little bit less than a year of waiting. So we now speak about many occupations which require only 2 years of experience. And some of them can actually include foreign specialty cooks, meaning the restaurant cooks. Only really like a year to year and a half of waiting, which is considerably better than trying to do it through the family sponsorship.
So that you were talking about the
employment-based.
Employment-based.
Exactly.
So the person concerned should have some technical qualities and qualifications to fill the criteria.
Yes.
And the next one is the sponsored one. The sponsored one, how long it takes?
Well, what do you mean which sponsor? Do you mean family sponsorship or
No.
you mean employment-based sponsorship?
Employment
Well, that's what I was saying. Look, you have 3 categories. Actually, there are 4, but the main 3 categories. The first category, the so-called EB1, which stands for employment-based one, usually extraordinary ability, extraordinary scientists, and similar categories basically have no quota. They only really need the immigration processing, which is about 6 to 8 months, and if they're in the United States, they can file adjustment of status almost immediately. So there's really no problem. EB1 does not have any waiting. Then you have a category which is called EB2. Employment-based 2 category consists of people who have a master's degree and some experience, or a bachelor's degree and at least 5 years of work experience, and the job requires such an experience. So that means you can't really ask it for the bus driver. The bus driver doesn't need a master's degree. However, engineer, accountant, and you have a lot of, from Bangladesh, you have a lot of accountants, engineers, marketing people, managers, similar occupations, even lawyers and similar occupations. Yes, they do require a graduate degree or a bachelor's degree and 5 years of experience. Quota is at this moment also open, which means only whatever it takes for the Labor Department and the U.S. Immigration Service to do the processing, which is about 12 to 18 months. That's what it is. That EB2 quota has always been more or less open. Sometimes they close it by the end of the year, but normally it's open. However, what is a big change, and a huge actually change, is what happened with the so-called EB3 quota. EB3 quota is for the people whose job, who either have that, or job requires at least 2 years of a skilled training or a skilled work experience. So now we are talking about restaurant chefs. We are talking about foreign specialty chefs. Somebody who can prepare Bengali food in a restaurant here in Jackson
Thank you,
Heights.
Mr. Marijan. We are almost at the end of the program show. প্রিয় দর্শক, আমরা অনেক তথ্য পেলাম। উনি বলেছেন যে যেহেতু ফ্যামিলি বেস প্রসেসিং অনেক সময় লাগছে, এরই মধ্যে যদি কোনো কোয়ালিফাইড লোকজন থাকে, যেমন কুক হতে পারে বা অন্যান্য পেশা যারা আছেন, 5 ইয়ার্সের এক্সপিরিয়েন্সও, তারা এমপ্লয় বেসড ভিসার জন্য অ্যাপ্লাই করতে পারবেন, এটা যদি কোনো কোম্পানি তাদেরকে স্পন্সর করেন আর কি। অ্যান্ড হোয়াট অ্যাবাউট দ্য পিপল দোজ আর আনডকুমেন্টেড হিয়ার, দে ক্যান অলসো হ্যাভ দি সেম অ্যাডভান্টেজ for the employee based?
Well, let me tell you, until recently, my answer was absolutely not. Until recently. What happened recently, and this is part of that President Obama's legalization on a one-on-one basis, so this is not his executive action. His political appointees in the Board of Immigration Appeals in Washington, D.C., happen to be in Virginia, but it's really very close to Washington, D.C. They changed the interpretation of their own regulations, which they have a right to do without act of Congress. They really have a right to do that. These are the agency interpretations. And basically they said, well, if somebody is issued a document which is called advance parole and can leave on that parole, can legally come back if they let him in the country with that parole, which is a big issue, which which there are a couple of legal issues.
We will discuss that
can legalize
in the
himself.
next show. I hope so.
In the next
we are almost the next program.
Yes.
We heard so many things from you. Thank you for your support in this program today. It was my great pleasure to be host, and you gave us your precious time. Thank you very
My
much,
pleasure.
Mr.
My
Marijan.
pleasure. Thank you.
সুধী দর্শক, সবাইকে ধন্যবাদ। আজকে আমাদের এখানে অনুষ্ঠান শেষ করছি। আবার ইনশাল্লাহ দেখা হবে আগামী পর্বে। ধন্যবাদ সবাইকে।